Hi, so today I'm going to be doing not a video on a certain topic, but more on a philosophical question, I guess. What makes a good king? This question has been asked by a lot of people for many years, and it's both present in academic writing, in fantasy writing, and it's literally everywhere. And it's a question that has plagued monarchs throughout the years because being a monarch is not easy. I mean, personally, I haven't been a monarch myself, at least in this life. And so I can't tell you from first-hand experience. But as a historian, I can kind of tell you a little bit. Now, the reason I'm saying monarchs, not leaders, is because it takes a certain quality to be a monarch. It's not the same thing being a monarch and being president. One isn't easier than the other. They both have their difficulties. But for example, president has certain limitations but certain freedoms. But same with monarchs. So let's just get right into it. First of all, let's just start with an easy one. You need to be able to keep your throne. If you're not able to keep your throne, how are you going to say you're a good monarch? For example, let's take Richard II, or for that matter, Richard III. Both monarchs had relatively short reigns because they were both overthrown. But for example, Edward III of England, he was stable. I'm gonna talk about in terms of English monarchs because um, I've read more on them, but this applies to like literally everyone. So that's point one. You need to be able to keep your throne. So in that sense, Edward III kept the throne. Perfect. Henry V kept the throne. Perfect. Queen Elizabeth, she's still on the throne, the second. For that matter, the first. I'm going to use Queen Elizabeth the first for another example. You get what I mean. You don't want to be like Richard II, Richard III, Charles I, James II. You need to keep your throne. Let's just, in that similar area, you need to be able to rise up to the challenge, be that a foreign challenge or be that an inner challenge. So not only keep your throne, but suppress opposition. Because even if you keep your throne, but you're kind of being taunted by people below you, you're still not a good monarch. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, not English monarchs, but Tsar Nicholas II. Yes, he was able to stay on the throne of Russia, throne. The throne of Russia after the 1905 revolution, but he didn't suppress the opposition. You know what I mean? So, for example, a good monarch that effectively suppressed opposition and remained on the throne, Henry VII, Henry VIII. It's internal opposition, by the way. Henry VII, Henry VIII, Henry V again, George I, George II. They squashed down internal opposition. In terms of foreign opposition, that is a good one. That is harder. You want to be like Elizabeth I, who defeated the Spanish Armada. You don't want to be like Mary I, who lost Calais. Well, that's not really relevant. Well, yeah. Kind of. So by that means, I also mean not only squash foreign opposition in your country, but also in terms of wars, you need to, manage opposition from attacking or defending countries. So you want to be like Elizabeth defending your own country, or Henry V not only defending his own country from an inner threat, but also from like defending and going forward to the 100 Years' War. Henry VIII, he's a bit. He has some minor victories in France, no huge ones. That sense, you know. You also want to keep your territories. Any territory you conquer or you colonize or whatever, you need to keep them. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm referring to George III here. He lost the colonies in the Revolutionary War. And for that matter, you also have Queen Elizabeth II or even George VI. Edward VIII doesn't really count because he only ruled for like a couple months. But George VI and Elizabeth II, they both lost territories. Yes, they were like, huge losses, but they lost control of territories. But George III, he, like, you know, well, you also have Albert the Great, or you have William the Conqueror. These people who not only like got their territories against invasion, they even united England even further and stabilized themselves. So yeah, that's the aggressive part of being a good monarch. You also need to keep your finances in check. You can't spend everything like Henry VIII did and leaving your kids in bankruptcy. So Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I had a really tough time. Same with Charles I. Louis XVI of France, Marie Antoinette. I mean, an example of how to keep your finances, that would be Henry VII. I think you can tell that I've done the Tudors quite a bit, and I've really read a lot about them because that's the main example I give. You also need to boost culture. You can't just like, make sure all you do is war. You need to push forward culture. You can't just wage war for your own gain and leave your subjects abandoned. Elizabeth was great at that first. Well, in the second too. Louis XIV, the Sun King, also great for this. And yeah, then that's the culture part, finance part. And you need the support of the people, obviously. Because one thing is having the people don't care, like not care if you're there, and just you be pretty much ignored. It is good in some way, but you need the support. You need people actively calling for you. Say Charles II. That's more for the general public, but also William III, Mary II. Again, same thing. In terms of finance, also need to boost industry. I just remember that part. And who better to boost industry than Queen Victoria? Maybe even William IV. He could also like play a little part. And maybe George IV, but it's definitely Victoria. Yeah. Because the Industrial Revolution was mainly Victoria. And lastly, you need justice. Now, I'm not going to name any specific monarchs because they all had their ups and downs, but you need to have a handle on justice. If there's an insurrection, if there's a rebellion, if there's whatever, you need to be just. you need to, let's just say, for sake of it, Henry VII, he wrote for Simnel, kept him in the kitchen. For Warbeck, he executed. Don't be like Henry V. He's not perfect, even though the episode so far are great things. He's far from perfect. He was ruthless. After Agincourt, he killed every single French prisoner, which is a bit overboard considering many people didn't really want to be there and they survived the battle, but then they got executed. Because there's a fine line, you need to suppress opposition, but you can't go overboard. You can't just kill everyone because that's just a no-no. And, okay, well, I just remembered my last point. I'm just like going no notes, so just remember random stuff. So, the last point I want to make is make sure you know how to use the counsel they give you. Alright, Monarchs isn't the counsel they gave. They've been given appropriately. You can't just rely entirely on one person, Wolsey. But you can't just spread yourself out too thin. So you need to surround yourself with people you can trust, not yes men. Because with yes men, you're just gonna be like, yes. Hence the name, yes men. But you need to have proper counsel, I guess. A good example, a really modern one, let's just say Elizabeth II. She's not that present in terms of politics nowadays, I don't think. But she does rely on her, Boris Johnson. The woman has had so many prime ministers. Boris Johnson, Mary Cameron, Theresa May, Winston Churchill. Especially at the beginning, really effective ministers. Really effective people. Elizabeth had some great ones. William Cecil, Robert Cecil, Robert Dudley, Earl of Essex. Well, he wasn't that great. That's pretty much it. Just rely on get the proper counsel. And last but not least, I just remembered the last one, which is not really a thing you can do, is not die early. Like, married first, Edward VI, Henry V. Have longer reigns, and try not get to the throne as an infant, because that just causes problems for everybody. For example, Edward V. The Princess of the Tower just that led to like Richard, Edward V, Henry VI. There's many more, but Henry the. What am I saying? James V of Scotland, married Queen of Scots. Don't die too early, but don't go into the throne too early, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna leave it there because that's literally all you need to be a good monarch. You need to listen to good counsel, take care of your finances, be stable, win wars, but not make too many. Have support of your people so that they support you. They're not they just don't care if you're there. Yeah. If you're planning on being a medieval monarch or modern monarch, you can use this video to help you and get advantage over everyone else. I'm not a military general, so don't listen to me in that sense, but I can give you, based on historical precedents, different pieces of advice. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you liked it. I found it interesting, and yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.